lady. I found community that is in tune with me, singing and dancing in our Zoom agog. Everybody, some contemplation mixed with elation. I am a moshnik and I'm here to stay, and I'm turning gray. A chance to meet you, a place to greet you, a time to deepen what it means to belong. Let's have some fun tonight and spread some joy and light. I am a moshnik and I'm here to stay, and I'm turning gray. Hey, here comes Hop on the harmonica. Even when he doesn't have a harmonica in his hand. All right, that's enough of that wonderful music there. Welcome again, everybody. And nobody new came in while I was singing, except for maybe Carol Ann. So welcome, Carol Ann. Briefly, before I hand things over to the very capable hands and heart of our dear Shulamit, a word or two about blessings. So first of all, in the Talmud, there's a teaching that we should say 100 blessings a day. Now, those blessings that they're talking about are brachot, such as saying a bracha, saying a blessing before we eat, or after we eat, or when we see a rainbow, or any of the myriad of things, and of course, before Torah study. So let's do that right now. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Thank you, Meira Appel, who has joined us, and Meira Gale. We've got the Meira's bookend right here on my screen, which is fantastic. The only other thing I wanted to say, as we lead into Shulamit's teaching, is for us to keep our kavanah, our intention tonight on the following. So I'm going to share my screen with you just for a moment, and this is going to be very familiar to you because this is the priestly blessing that we say every Shabbos morning, in which we extend our hands and we allow the flow of blessings come through us from divinity to the heart of the receiver, to another person in our Zoom room. And pointing to this priestly blessing, Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, you can't help but notice the structure in which you have 3 words in the first line, may Yud He Vav He bless you and guard you, and then 5 words in the next pasuk, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yachuneka, may God's grace shine upon you, right? May God's loving presence gracefully make its way into your life. And then the number 7 in the last line, 357, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May the face of God, all that is good and all that you are deserving of as a freebie, because it's chen, it is grace, grant you also with peace. So we have 357. What's missing from that calculation? Of course, what is missing is Meira. Yes, Meira's point. It's got a number 1 up there, right? And as in a famous children's song, one is Hashem, one is Hashem, one is Hashem, in the heavens and the earth. So the number 1 is missing, but the number 1, of course, is always there, right? And so let us keep this in mind throughout tonight, that we are not blessing each other. We're asking, we are serving as the Klei Kodesh, as the holy vessel through which blessing flows through us to another. And without further ado, I present to you the Queen of Blessing herself.
Oh my goodness.
The Queen of Meditation herself.
Hi, everybody.
Our dear Shulamit. Thank you, Shulamit.
Thank you, Reb Mark. I am delighted to be here and delighted to talk about blessings, because for many years now, they've been a big part of my life. And every once in a while, someone asks me why, I make a point of giving people blessings. And the reason is because I believe that they come right back to me. I think that the more we bless other people, the more we are that channel that Mark was talking about. And I think that's a really big part of what I want to get across tonight is who's doing the blessing. So the words come out of my mouth, but I am just the channel. I'm just saying what comes through. And I will talk about that a little more as we move through the evening. I want to say that I would really like this to be an interactive session. So if there are things that you feel a need to say, or you have a question, or please feel free to raise your hand. And if you do it electronically, I would be certain to see it. So for me, there's a difference between blessings, prayers, and davening. Now, I need to step back for a minute and remind you all that if we had 20 Jewish clergy in the room, we'd have 32 answers to what those things mean. I'm only going to tell you what the difference is for me and why I think it's important. So, for me, a prayer is talking to God. It's when I'm giving my personal uh, gratitude and the things that I'd like in my life and the way, whatever it might be, when I sit down to pray, it's in English and I'm talking directly to God as I know God. Davening is what we do on Shabbos morning or any other time that we go to Mincha or Marav, whatever service we might go to. That's or by ourselves with a siddur. That's davening to me. And while it is a prayer, it's a little different. A blessing has a lot to do with the prayer in my mind. It's the thing that I would be praying for the person that I give the blessing to. So it's similar to a prayer, and yet it's different. And it's not from me, it's just coming out of my mouth. Yeah. Thank you for shaking your head, Mira. I appreciate the response. It would be really be lovely if we were sitting in a circle, wouldn't it? Could all really talk to each other. So then the question I think becomes, how do you give a blessing? And people ask me that often, and I think it's become a wonderful habit for me. So I just sort of open to what's going on and I listen very carefully. And the listening part is most important, especially for instance, a conversation with a friend. And the friend tells you what's going on in their life. Maybe they're a little ill, maybe there's something going on with their niece or their nephew. It's very easy at the end of that conversation to say, gosh, I really hope that you might be blessed with an easier situation because you heard what they said. So the first thing is, how do we listen? What are we really hearing? Are we stopping to know what that person's really saying? Or are we thinking about what we're going to say next? And these are all parts of listening skills that I know many of you have. The other way you know how to bless someone is to ask them what they would like to be blessed for. And I'll just tell you a quick little story. When I was chaplaining in a hospital, I went to visit a woman who had just been given a diagnosis of cancer, and she was understandably quite disturbed. And we talked for about a half an hour about how she was feeling and what was going on. And then I asked her if she would like to have a prayer or if she would prefer that I keep her in my prayers in my quiet time. And she said, "Oh no, I really want a prayer." And it was said with such intensity that I had to stop and say, "Okay, what would you like to pray for?" And it had nothing to do with anything we had talked about. So that can happen too. She was very concerned about a relative who had recently passed and her ability to promote that person's soul. So both things are good, and sometimes you can use both of them at the same time. Yeah, we're going to demonstrate that for you in just a little while. Another part of blessing that people find difficult is just the actual act of doing the blessing. So if you're not used to giving blessings, you might think that it was difficult. But let's stop for a moment and think about recent conversations you've had with people you really care about. At the end of the conversation, did you say, "I love you"? Did you say, "Take good care of yourself"? Did you say, "I hope I get to see you soon"? Do you think those qualify as blessings? Anybody? Yes? No? Yeah, it looks like, okay, those were yeses. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's not hard to go from there to something that might have a beginning of, "May you be blessed." So there's a bunch of ways to start a blessing.
Shulamit,
Yes, sir.
Dan Glazer had his hand up. I don't know if he still wants to make a comment.
Dan, I would be happy to hear from you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, those things, it's hard for me to think of those as blessings as they are kavanot, intentions. I hope to see you again. What was the other?
Take good care of yourself.
Take good care of yourself, that sort of thing. I don't know how much of a difference it is. The word intentions works better for me, I think.
You can call it whatever you would like, Dan. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I think, for me, what the reason I was saying that was if it would feel awkward to you to end the conversation with that same person by saying, "May we be blessed to be together again very soon." I think because of the Kavanah, in very many ways, it's the same thing. And part of the purpose for me, is to bless as many people as I possibly can every day. Whether I say words that sound like a blessing or I do it through an act of kindness, that's a blessing too. Yeah. Maybe it's all intention, Dan. Anybody else want to add to what he's saying? Maybe Eliana.
Thank you. I was thinking when you were talking about listening that I think that when giving a blessing, it's also extremely important to listen to that voice, that still small voice of God within.
Mhm.
And that way be the conduit of the blessing from the Holy One.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. That's how we open to be able to know what that person needs. That's the intuition part. And it has to follow the listening part, I think. And thank you, Eliana. Huff, without a harmonica.
No, actually, I had the harmonica, and I was playing so well with Neil Young that Rabbi Mark didn't even notice how good it was. One of the things that I have noticed that makes a blessing most effective in my giving and receiving has been and I use this word carefully, parroting of the language that the person has wanted to hear, as opposed to me, and I'm good at interpreting, but I found it much safer, both when I'm asking for a blessing and giving a blessing, to be very careful to try somewhere in the context of the blessing to include the specific intention that the person was asking for. So if they said something about health, I'm not going to say, I hope you feel better. I'm going to say, I hope you have good health. And I try to be really careful not to go too far afield, even though that's a skill I might have. I'd rather be safe and careful. Not exactly doing verbatim, but making sure I've got the heart and guts, the kishkis of the meaning.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's very good advice. Dibarti, Shamati?
Debarti and Shamati.
Okay. Deborah.
So what you're saying is that giving a blessing, you are a conduit for God or spirit. So that's parallel to doing Reiki, which is just energy. You are the conduit for the energy. That's the same thing.
I think for me personally, that's a wonderful example. And it's very similar. When I do Reiki, the intention comes through my hand. If I'm giving a blessing, the intention comes through my mouth. But I think that the ability to open to spirit and allow that energy to flow through is what makes both of them work.
Shulamit, if I may, just for a
Please.
moment, point out the Hebrew word that Deborah used in English, which is conduit. So the Hebrew word for conduit is sinor. And sinor is a permutation using the same letters for the word ratzon. And ratzon means will. And so oftentimes we'll say, Kei ni ratzon, may it be God's will, right? And so it's basically, it's a wonderful, when you know the Hebrew, it's a wonderful, playful understanding of how a conduit works, because it is the urge of divinity to be revealed through the giver of the blessing.
Beautiful, really beautiful. Yeah. So Dan, I don't know, somehow I'm coming right back to your thing of intention again. I think that's really an important part, that we have the intention to connect and to then spread that around. Yes, go.
And yet I got a message that said the difference between a blessing versus intention is the knowing that you are a channel for something beyond yourself.
Isn't that what we've been saying?
Yeah, so that it's an expansion of an intent. It's not just my intention,
Ah,
but
perfect.
it is the intention, I guess, of the force of God.
And if your intention is to connect to that source in order to give the blessing, then you've got them both in the same nice little package.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anybody else have questions? I'm not sure if Jay's hand is up. I think he's just holding his head. Okay.
But Meir is.
Meir is. Yes, it is. Hello.
Hello, Shulamit. So I guess one of the things that I feel comfortable to give a blessing when we're at services and we've had this intimate conversation, and I feel like I'm primed for spirit. But I just wanted to speak about when you're more in your rational self or more in your everyday consciousness. Is there, I'm just putting that out about how to maybe make the shift so that the blessing is truly from the channel, without having had that space and that openness to get to that place.
So that you mean the place of connection. Mhm. Well, first of all, you would have listened to what the person had to say, right? So I'm a little confused by your question. I'm not sure if you're asking me how to start blessing people that are in your life on a more regular basis when you haven't had a long conversation with them, or if you're asking me how to become the channel.
More of the shift to become the channel, I guess, without being steeped in services or, if I'm on a phone call with a friend, it wouldn't feel quite as natural as maybe at the end of services where there's a shared intention that there will be blessings.
Mhm. Yes. And I think that what I was trying to point out before is that in many ways you already do it. So at the end of that conversation, if you say, take good care of yourself, that's it's a more comfortable way, perhaps, or a more normal way to say, may you be blessed with. But after a while, it just sort of comes out of your mouth, or at least mine. I think it probably started because I am a chaplain, but I almost always give my friends a blessing at the end of a conversation, even if it's Shabbat Shalom. There's another blessing we give people all the time, don't we? And we have holiday blessings. And if you're an Orthodox Jewish person, you bless your children every Shabbat, and the husband blesses his wife. I'm not sure who blesses the husband, Mark.
Oh, I was just reacting that you don't have to be Orthodox observant to bless your children.
Yeah, that's where I was going, and thank you. I completely agree with you. All right, we have Joe and Neil, one of them, I think.
Yeah,
Joe and
so
Walter.
this issue has come up recently a couple of times at work for me. When I've had patients who are very atheistic, don't come from a place of any kind of spiritual, defined spiritual consciousness. And they have expressed to me that when they've said, when somebody says, I'll pray for you, it bothers them. Like, well, what does that mean? I don't believe that. And what I've always said to them is, understand that from their perspective, what they're really saying is that their intention for you is all good and that they're sending love to you. That's what they're saying it in a language that's a different language. So it gets back to the concept of, in my view, it still really is all about intention, whether it's your conscious intention for that person. But I don't know if you can make that distinction. This is my intention versus a larger intention. I don't know, but I just resonating with Hoff's point that finding the language that's comfortable and meaningful to the person that you're trying to bestow goodness to is important.
It really is, and I thank you for bringing that up. And that's my a reason why, as a chaplain, I never just launched into prayer for someone, because I don't know until they tell me if that's what they want. And for me, it was very comfortable to ask it the way I said before. Would you like me to say a prayer with you, or would you prefer me to keep you in my quiet time? That way, there isn't even a word prayer in there if they don't want the first choice. I think that, I think everybody somewhere deep inside wants to be blessed. But whether or not they can actually hear it is a different story, or where they think it comes from. Dan.
I think I lost my point, so go ahead with Deborah.
Okay, if it comes back, you'll let us know. Deborah.
So I think what I'm understanding, and to follow on with what Joe said now, is like I was thinking about, if I were to say to my sons, I bless you, they would go, oh, Mom, what's happened to you anyway? Like, because they would not appreciate it. But the intention of saying what we say in a blessing is the stuff that comes, like if I'm speaking to them, it's the mom stuff. Like they will appreciate that. But if I use the word blessing, that would just be like, so we do have to realize who we're speaking to and
Absolutely.
temper it accordingly.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, that you say to you bless your children when you tell them that you love them, when you tell them to get home safely, all of those things are blessings without saying, may you be blessed. With
Oh, I love that.
oracle. They're all blessings. We do it all the time. Let's just do it a little more consciously. Dan, I'm to you, and then Deborah, we're going to do a little role play. Yes, Dan.
Yeah, no, it just I'm with Deborah on this, that the word blessing is difficult for me to use, but to be aware that you are strengthening and increasing the positive connection, that you're telling someone, I'm aware of you, you're in my thoughts, I hope the best for you. All those things, yes, they are in a sense blessings, although again, the word doesn't necessarily have to be there. Even back to what I was saying before, where it enlarged, the difference between a positive intention and a blessing is that you're invoking something larger than yourself. Yeah, I guess that also is like, depends on what the person believes. If the person doesn't think that way, then you don't go there. I'd still like to think that it's not just from me, but that it's saying that the royal we or life is holding you.
I think we're agreeing, Dan.
Yeah, so just trying to get my head around it, and but thank you.
Of course. So one of the ways that I started years ago to be sure that I was blessing people every day was in my emails. Now, if you're in a big corporation and you were to write blessings at the bottom of an email, that might not be accepted quite the way you might want it to be. And it might. But for your friends, for your relatives, for other people that you email and text with, you can just write the word blessings at the bottom of your email, or you can bless them with something you know they need. I like to bless people with grace and ease, mostly because that's what I want in my life. Just some ease and a lot of grace would be really wonderful. So it seems to me, if I send that blessing to other people, it just might come back to me. So Deborah, are you ready to do a little role play with me?
I sure am.
Okay, so let me tell you, this is the question that we're going to use in the breakout rooms. There will be 2 people in each room. And I would like you to tell your partner, what should I do? How you have been preparing for the holy days during this period of Elul. And is there something that you need or want to do before Rosh Hashanah? I'm going to put this in the chat box. And then Deborah and I are going to give you an example.
I'm going to massage your prompt just a little bit, Shulamit,
Go for it.
because we have several people with us who are not Jewish, right? And are not necessarily preparing for Yamim Noraim, the high holy days, the days of awesomeness, in the ways that many of us are. So I would like to rephrase the question, if anyone needs it, is what have you been working on spiritually? And what are you working towards?
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Deborah, that's the question which you were about to talk to me about, and then I will give you a blessing. And it can be real or made up because it's a demo.
Okay. Well, I am dealing with a situation here in this community where my cottage is, with a person who isn't Jewish, but it's the right time of year and it's the right season to do this. And this is someone who has been friends with me for a long time. They rented my lot, they bought into the community. They were very friendly with me for like 7 years. And this year I started getting a lot of criticism that I wasn't gardening properly, I wasn't trimming my trees properly. I wasn't coming to enough things that are going on in the community. And I'm on my own journey. I'm in this place because I've been here for 40 years and I've raised a lot of stepchildren and children here. And I don't need to go to beach parties anymore. I don't have grandchildren. They know me really well. They met me when I was in rabbinic school. And suddenly these criticisms came at me, and I don't like conflict and I don't like having to deal with things like this. And yet I feel like I need to say something. And because if I don't, the fall will come and I'll leave, and then it'll be a whole 6 months before I see them. And then I can't leave it. I just can't leave it. So that is what I need to do. And I don't want to have to justify my existence here as not being part of the social community because they see me as being on Zoom all the time. Like that's too bad.
Wow. That sounds like a situation that's not very calming or peaceful. As we take a nice deep breath together, I would really like to bless you that you find just the right way to let your community know that while you appreciate them, it's not for you to be at everything that they do, and that you'll find exactly the right words and the right person to say that to so that you can take this load off of your shoulders. Is there anything else that you need in the way of a blessing?
Yes, I think that I would like a blessing to have the wherewithal to stay calm when I do this and stay focused, and not get emotional. like to just do it in a matter of fact way. And that's sometimes difficult for me.
I really hear that that can be difficult for you. So I really pray that you will be able to stay calm and that any emotions that you have, you'll be able to take them home with you for later examination, but they won't show up at the time that you're trying to talk with these people. May that be so.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody have questions about the demo? Okay, we're a very quiet crowd this evening. We're going to put Red Mark is going to put us in breakout rooms. Not me, the rest of you. 2 people in a room. When you get there, you're going to answer the question that I put in the, oh my goodness, what happened to it? Didn't I put it in there?
It's there.
You did.
Okay, there you go. How have you been preparing for whatever you're preparing for? Those of you who are preparing for Elul, those of you who are on a spiritual journey of some kind. Is there something that you need or want to do in the near future? Does it feel difficult or perhaps even easy? And I think it's Rick who has his hand up since Elizabeth is not in the picture.
Yeah, just real quickly, because we're a couple. I see there are a few people here in twosomes. How do you want to manage that?
Mark?
You're going to be working with each other.
Okay, that's fine.
So
Okay.
Joe and Walt and Elizabeth and Rick and Shosha has arrived.
Yes.
If you are, if you do not get put into a room at first, it's because you didn't appear when I was making the breakthrough rooms. So just be patient, and I will make a room for you once everybody goes. You'll have, how long did we say? It's 7:40 now, Shulamit?
How about 10 minutes? Does
Okay, that sounds good. So
5 minutes each.
10 to the hour. And I just want to remind you all of how important language is, because language reflects our intention. So it's much different if we say, I want to bless you with, right, than may you be blessed with. And in neither phrasing is there the word God or Yud He Vav He, right? Which is the next step. May God bless you with. But I think, Joe, before you were alluding to something which is important. If a person is not ready for that kind of language, right? You want to temper it into the language that can be received. Most importantly, what I'm saying is based upon how I began to introduce Shulamit, which is we are not giving the blessing. We are the tzinorim. We are the conduits, right, for the divine blessing. So may you be blessed with is much, much different with than I bless you with. You got it? Okay. And if it helps you, before you actually say the blessing, to just center for a second and open up your hands so that you are receiving and giving at the same time. Right? You're receiving guidance to be able to give what the person needs. That was based upon, as what Geneva said before, radical listening, compassionate listening, and what Shulamit pointed out. Okay? So I just wanted to reinforce that before we go into the rooms. Alrighty, so
I would like to know when we come back how the experience was for you yourself. I would especially want to know how it was for the cat.
All right, here we go. Okay, Mel, Elizabeth and Rick, I'm gonna make, can I make another room?
We'll just stop our video, Mark, and just hang out.
Okay, yeah, and yeah, stop your audio too.
Yeah.
Okay, Kit, you're frozen. And Mel, I'll be right with you. Kit, you're supposed to go to room 9. That's weird. Okay. I'm not sure what's happening. There she goes. Okay. Mel, you and I are gonna go. Oh, that's really weird. I thought I can make another breakthrough room. Alrighty, we're gonna stay right here. You and I.
Mark, I just left a breakout room. Can you move into that one?
No, because everybody's matched up.
No, there was nobody in there but me.
Wait, I just signed up a minute ago. So
Oh,
I'm
room
not
1. Oh, okay, I see. Okay. And I'm gonna join room 1. Okay, be back. Oh, I'm gonna stop the recording.